As the 2022 flood continues to sack different communities in Kogi State, including the state's capital, Lokoja, most of the displaced families have been forced to shelter in schools, abandoned buildings, makeshift tents, or with distant family members, some leaving all of their belongings behind. Now, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency says there will be heavy rainfall in 24 states within the next 48 hours. This comes in the wake of reports that authorities in Cameroon have opened the Lagdo Dam, coupled with the release of water from the Kanji and Shigoro dams, a large quantity of which passes through River Niger to Lokoja to other parts of the world. Let's take a look at the situation in Kogi State. Gentlemen, this has been on for 2 weeks, and I would really like to know, do we really prepare enough for times like this?
Apparently, we knew that there would be flooding. NiMet had warned at least 24 states that this will happen. But flooding, strictly as a result of rains, was what NiMet was warning us about. That there will be rains, some lasting for days, more or less like monsoon rains, similar to what you have in India. No matter the level of the drains that you have, such water will still spill onto the streets because of the high volume of rainfall experienced over like 48 hours, for example. If in Lagos we face rains, driving rains, if we face it for even
12 hours.
12, we will know that we are in trouble. The positive thing about Lagos is when it rains, after a few hours, you won't see that water anymore. In most parts of Lagos, you won't see that water anymore because they have primary, secondary, and tertiary channels that move the water to the lagoon. But some of these states in northern Nigeria do not have primary, secondary, and tertiary channels. When you move around Lagos, you see the canals, see how big some of those canals are. You know that they are designed to move water. Once the roads get flooded as a result of unseasonal rain, immediately the rains stop, you see that those canals, those drains, those secondary, tertiary, and primary channels will go to work and then help us to move the water straight to the lagoon and all that. But that's not what you have in a lot of the northern states, for example. Then, talking about what we have seen, I said NiMet warned that we will have flooding. But NiMet didn't warn us that dams will be opened. Kogi is particularly unfortunate for two reasons. The Lagdo Dam in Cameroon ensures that when it is opened, every community that River Benue passes through, that community risks being flooded. Their farmlands risks being submerged, their houses risk being submerged and all that. River Benue passes through Kogi State. In fact, the confluence between River Niger and Benue is in Kogi State. Now, apart from the dam in Cameroon, we've seen here in our country too, we have opened some dams that the water now goes into River Niger, communities the River Niger passes through. That's why you see flooding in Niger State, flooding in Anambra State, because River Niger passes through Anambra, flooding in Delta, Asaba, these areas. The river Niger passes through those areas. So I'm saying it's double tragedy for Kogi because those two rivers that receive the waters of dams that have been uncorked slowly, those two rivers are present here. So where Kebbi, for example, because Kebbi, River Niger passes through Kebbi. So where Kebbi, for example, will face some challenges with flooding, it is double portion that Kogi will have because both the River Benue and River Niger are here in Kogi State. And look at the shoulders, the banks of the River Niger in Kogi. It's not as if over the years they've built dikes and other devices that can help control storm water and ensure that they don't spill onto the roads, onto the communities. No, you can even just walk up to the bank of the river and take water with your cup. No, they didn't build those natural boulders that will help us keep the water in check when it rises up to a particular level. They are not there.
All right, BK, if this is the situation, isn't there supposed to be a channel of information that people get to know ahead of time? So just in case they get this taken away from these areas before all of this happens.
I don't know the relationship between us, between the federal government and Cameroon, for example, because this has been happening for years. There's hardly any year that we don't experience this. Just that this year is particularly severe. Everyone knows that climate change is also a factor. Unusual level of rainfall. In fact, in Katsina the other day, ice flakes were coming down. And I'm like, how can ice flakes be coming down? And Katsina is unheard of. Now, I don't know the relationship we have. Do we communicate with them? Because, let me use the example of Lagos. Lagos gets flooded when the Onion Dam is located in Oyo State. Whenever they open the dam, the content goes into Ogun River. It goes into Ogun River. Some parts of Ogun State get flooded. In fact, Denro and parts of Ishashi will get flooded. Agility in Lagos will get flooded. This Kwara, where they sell meat and all that, along the expressway, you see water. You know, that usually happens when they release water from the Onion Dam. But the Lagos state government gets information from the management of Onion Dam to know the level of the water and when they are likely to release the water, so that Lagos can plan, relocate people, especially in the agility areas, relocate them to safe areas, to high ground and all that. But I don't think we have that kind of arrangement with Cameroon, because every year in Adamawa, Taraba, our people, they lose their farmlands because They will just release the water and you see destruction all over the place. So if it's a country, this is a different country that is opening this dam, at least we should have information that, look, at this time of the year, they are going to do this. They are already looking at the level of the water and they want to open the dam. No one says don't open the dam, because if the dam breaks its barriers, it's even more dangerous. It will kill people along its path.
All right.
Yeah, well, the Kogi situation is quite pathetic. But like BKO said, I think while some of these things are things we expect, I mean, the causes are things we expect to happen, I think the human efforts are not enough. I was reading when this Kogi news broke, and I found out that at the advent of our democracy, this new democracy, around late 1998, thereabout, there was an incident like this in the state. And it was so severe that there was a nationwide outcry. One will expect, you see, Vicky mentioned it, that I have been to the confluence area in Kogi. You can walk into the river. As in you can walk from the streets into the river in Kogi. That is how open it is, unprotected, unguarded. So if you know that when this water overflow its banks, it can wreak havoc like this. I think since 1998 till date, efforts should have been made for some form of embankments and protections. If you have something that can hold the water in place, I don't think the damage will be this much. But we have a system that sees disasters and think the only thing we can do with disaster is to manage it. Disaster management agency all over the place. I look forward to seeing disaster prevention agencies. Let's prevent disasters. It is not appropriate that we wait for things to really get bad. Then one of the things we can do is get appropriate information from these dams that are opened and then are likely to affect. You see, what happened in Kogi, I'm sure this is the capital city. This is Lokoja.
Yes, no.
This is some rural communities will also be affected.
No, of course, there are about 7 local governments.
So if it is this severe in the capital city, farmlands are gone in some places. Livestock are lost. Lives are threatened. So I think we should do more than just wait for things like this to happen. And that's why I give credit to Lagos State. They give you this information before things happen.
All right.
And then they keep talking about the place to relocate and all that. So we need to do more.